Good afternoon, my friends. Good afternoon. For those that I haven't met, I'm Rachel Lamb. I'm one of your program coordinators for Concord's Recreation Department. I'm joined by Tracy Butler, our other program coordinator. And we're so sorry for last week's weather. We brought you sunshine this week, so please go out and enjoy it. We're so happy that you're all here today. I do want to mention that we had a sponsor for today's event that brought the charcuterie board over there. Her name is Anissa Valchek from Chardon Healthcare. It is a 99-bed skilled nursing facility specializing in rehab. Chardon has a nurse practitioner Monday through Friday and physicians rounding throughout the week. Wound care on staff and healing hands round weekly. Their therapy team is in-house 7 days a week. They accept patients for respite stays as well as those who are working to get Medicaid. Beds are available, and if anyone would like a tour, please see Anissa. I have her information. And then Recreation has grapes and cookies over there too, so please enjoy. Next week, we have a lot of wonderful senior socials coming up this month, including bingo. We had this room filled last week, so hopefully we'll do it again. And if you have any questions about programs, see Tracy or I afterwards. If you're not getting your 55 plus newsletter that is different than the Grapevine, please let us know and we'll get you added to that roster. So without further ado, today we have with us Lake County Treasurer Michael Zurin, Lake County Auditor, former Concord Trustee Christopher Galloway, and Patrick Dolzer, Financial Advisor, for questions at the end during the Q&A. So gentlemen, take it away. Nice to have you here today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I moved to Concord about a year and a half ago, and it's a beautiful township, and we're just thrilled to be here. I've got 4 children, and one's in Parkside, 2 are in the high school, and it's just a beautiful area. So we're just thrilled to be here. My name is Mike Zurin. I'm the Lake County Treasurer, and I'm here with Chris Galloway. He's our County Auditor. And to start things off, we're going to talk about what our offices do, and then we're going to get into some programs that should be able to benefit everyone in the senior community. So the Treasurer's Office, just so everyone understands what the Treasurer does, the biggest thing is we collect the property tax dollars. And that just ended, thank goodness. It was very busy. We actually had our biggest collection ever. We collected $256 million for the first half collection that ended February 15th. We really worked over the last year to make it easier for people to pay and create a lot of different lines of communication. We had a lot of enhancements on the website where people could pay by ACH, by checking accounts or savings accounts. That made a big difference. We really had a lot of media attention to trying to have people sign up for auto payments, and we actually signed up 20% more people over the last 6 months where they have their payments automatically paid. The benefit to the auto payment, if anyone is interested in not mailing in their check or coming into the office, we take it out the day it's due. We take it out, so we took it out February 15th. So it wasn't taken out of your account early. So the auto pay, it is taken out the day that the taxes are due, which is a big benefit. No, you just sign up, you fill out a form, and then when we do the payment, we take it out the day it's due instead of taking it 2 or 3 weeks beforehand if you mail in a check. And we also changed the online payment where if you pay by ACH, if you pay by checking or savings, it's $1.50. That's what it costs, $1.50 up to $10,000 payment. So it's really probably a lot less money than getting in your car, driving into the office, going through the drive-through. It's just a lot easier way. The other program we have that we had a lot of people sign up for is the 10 monthly payments to pay the taxes for the year. So you could break up your payments into 10 payments, and it's automatically taken out, and that pays it for the full year. If somebody's on a fixed income, this is a great way to pay instead of paying 2 large payments through the year. So we collected $256 million, which is $7 million more than last year, and we really attribute it to the staff at the Treasurer's Office creating all these enhancements and improvements and outreach into the community. One thing that we're really proud of is there was grant money available over the last couple years due to COVID for anybody who fell behind on their property taxes, which was called Save the Dream. And we were able to get about $500,000 for Lake County homeowners to help them bring their taxes current. So if anybody knows any friends or family in Lake County that are behind on their taxes, any way related to COVID, there's still some money left. So, call our office and we'll try to direct you to the right place. The Treasurer's Office, we also, I act as the Chief Investment Officer for the county, and we have done really well last year. It was partially due to the interest rates rising so much, but we really looked at terms of investment. We really looked at corporate bonds. That was something that there wasn't a lot of investment in the past, and we actually increased the county return 250% over the year before. So it was a big increase, and the county will have a little bit more money to work with. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Chris. He's going to talk about his office.
I think we're out of order on this a little bit, so I might just, I'll let you figure it out, Mike. Hello, whoa, shock. As Rachel had mentioned, I am serving currently as the county auditor. I spent about 14 and a half years as your Concord trustee prior to being tapped to become county auditor. I can tell you I love Concord so much, and there's almost not a day that goes by I wish I wasn't back in Concord servicing as your trustee. Maybe that's more of a testament on things at the county, but nonetheless. Mike and his staff actually have died. I just want to give a little shout out to Mike. They've done a great job since he's come in to really increase the amount of electronic payment and reduce the amount of waiting, people waiting in line at the drive-through, people lined up down the hall in the county building. That's been, he's done a really great job on that, so I give him a lot of credit for that. My office, what we work on in the auditor's office, I serve as the chief financial officer of the county, and I wear many, many hats in the county. I like to say that there's not any particular piece of county government that I'm not involved in. We serve as sort of the AP agent for the county. We pay all the county's bills. We also serve some sort of accounts receivable functions. We manage the state, the audit that the county goes through, an audit from the state auditor for about 10 months of the year. So they audit us almost continuously throughout the year to look and make sure that things are being done correctly. It's my office's job to manage that, to make sure that the financial reports are turned in on time. There's a lot of governance, paperwork that needs to be done. Additionally, my office handles the payroll for all approximate 1,800 county employees. Every other week, we have to make sure that gets done and done correctly. Additionally, I'm in charge of weights and measures. You go out to the gas pump, you go to Giant Eagle, you see the little sticker with my name on it. Tells you that pound of turkey you bought at Giant Eagle or at our wonderful new Lucky's here in Concord is in fact a pound. Same thing in the gas station. If you're going to buy and pay for a gallon of gas, we're here to make sure that you're getting a gallon of gas. Additionally, we go out to stores throughout the county and do price checking. We will pull, say, at Heinen's, 100 items randomly off the shelf and scan them. And under Ohio law, they have to have no more than a 4% error rate. Or we write them up and come back and make them do it again. So we do that to make sure that both sides of the commercial transaction are fair for the seller and the buyer. You'd be surprised to learn that actually, typically on price checks, the error typically actually benefits the consumer. More times than not, it's about 60-40. And that's important for businesses too. If they have an error, they want to know if they're charging the wrong amount and losing money. We had hardware store out in Madison that had that problem. When they first opened, their corporate folks came out from Ace Hardware, set it all up, and they had a high error rate. And we were able to help them and work through them. And the owner was so grateful when it was all said and done, because unbeknownst to him, he was losing money in that first month, where prices were underdone on what they should have been. So that's an important thing we do. You might have noticed recently the Attorney General Yost was suing Dollar General because of problems that county auditors had discovered around the state where they were having error rates of 40 to 60%. And almost all of those were not to the consumer's benefit when it came to Dollar General. So that was why the Attorney General stepped in and it sued to try to get some changes there with that organization. So we handle that for Lake County. Also, we sell the dog licenses. Who has a dog? Did you renew on time by January 31st? There'll be a penalty. And I can't waive it. That's state law. It's locked in. I get people all the time. Oh, I was only 3 days late. State law doesn't give me any wiggle room. So yes, we're tasked with handing out all the dog licenses. It's still the dog warden that runs around and chases wayward puppies, but we're in charge of maintaining the database and handing out the licenses. Additionally, the part that ties into what Mike does, we are responsible for putting an appraised value on all 114,000 parcels of real property in Lake County, residential and commercial. That's a big task, and under Ohio law, we have to update that every 3 years. We just went through that in 2021, and we are already working on the 2024 sexennial, which is what we call, it's our big one. It's not an update. We actually have to go out and do an in-depth review of every single parcel. So that is actually underway right now. I also serve as chairman of the County Budget Commission. Mike serves on that with me. I am in charge of county IT. I serve on a number of different boards. Basically, I wear a lot of hats, and I have my hand in a lot of cookie jars in the county. There's nothing that goes on in the county that I'm not somehow involved in. So it keeps me busy. Additionally, I still serve as your chairman here in Concord of our Joint Economic Development District with the City of Painesville. So if anybody has Concord questions on, economic development afterwards, if you want to ask, fire away as well. So that's what I do, 9 to 5.
Yeah, Chris is a huge asset to the county. We're blessed to have him. We are going to start to talk about some tax reduction programs that are available, and then also some grants. And I have a budget for seniors that's available. I'm going to see if anybody wants one, just raise your hand and they'll hand those out. But the budget for seniors, what that is as we go through these tax reduction programs and we go through the grant programs that we're going to go over, if you can incorporate them in your budget and reduce your monthly expenses to help you out financially with your cash flow, it would be a good thing to look at. It really breaks down the different incomes that you receive and the different expenses that you're going to have on this form. So it might be able to help you with your monthly budget. So the first thing that we're going to go over, and Chris is going to help me with this, is the homestead exemption. If you're over 65 years old and you own the house January 1st and it's owner occupied and you make under a certain income level, that's taxable. Social Security is not included in the income that they use to qualify for this program, because that should be a tax exempt income. Chris, do you know what the income level is for?
Yeah, this is a dated slide, so we need to
update this. Yeah.
But, the 2023 number is $36,100.
Yeah, so if you make under $36,100 on your adjusted taxable income, it should not include Social Security, then you may be eligible for the homestead exemption. The homestead exemption, does anyone still need one of these? We could get more copies. She's going to make more copies. So, okay, she's going to bring those in. So, but if you make under $36,100 of taxable income on your last tax return, and you're not under the homestead exemption program, you should contact the auditor's office, and Chris's office will help you fill out the paperwork for this program. The next slide.
Well, and before we do that, I will have up here for anyone who's not on Homestead and thinks they might qualify, I have some flyers here that we can hand out or do it now or afterwards, because we want to make sure we get everybody on this.
Right now, the key is if it's oh, go ahead.
You said Social Security. I presume I'm under government, so that would be the same.
Only taxable income. So what you put on your tax return, if your Social Security is not taxed, it is not,
I get Social Security.
You get
Okay.
OPERS?
No, I get government income.
it would be that, do you fill out a tax return?
Do I fill out, I
Yeah.
always check to see, yeah. I'll-
Okay, if your gross income, taxable income is under
I was
36,000.
a postal worker. I mean, I get a government pension.
It's going to be the,
That won't, yeah, if it's not, any pension will still count towards this number, other than Social Security.
I was just so, wow.
Yeah.
Only Social Security income does not count towards the $36,100. Now, this is a change because Ohio in 2010, when they passed the budget, they changed this. It didn't used to have any qualifier in terms of income. If you were 65, you got the homestead. What they did was they changed that to then, if you could put in the income limitation. So if you made more than that amount, then going forward from 2010. So people on it prior to 2010, if you were already on it, you're grandfathered. It doesn't matter how much money you make. You were grandfathered in before the law was
Does it
changed.
say that on the tax bill, if your grandfather into
On which tax bill?
the property tax bill?
no.
No, the property tax bill doesn't get into that level of detail. No.
Well, the spouse dies that, had it, and because she was too young to get it, now she's in the elder age. Is she automatically just put right into it also because I was grandfathered in?
So like if you passed away, would then she state, no, the income qualification would go into effect.
So she'd have to.
Right, because it was under you. So oh, it's under both of you.
Well, the title, the deed.
Right.
I was the one that was.
Who filled out the paperwork?
Who filled out the paperwork? I can check on that. I can look into that to see how that exactly would work.
I just don't know, but I called up one time because my husband's deceased, and I don't even know how it works, but they told me I was grandfathered.
Well, okay, so then
So I know, of course, he's passed away, it'll be 9 years.
right, and if you were already on it, if it's a situation that you were already on it, then it'll hold. If it was all somehow in your name and not in her name, then that's where the issue would arise. So, if it's she's already on it with you, then you're fine. Same as what happened for you when your husband passed.
No, because the house is not considered as mine.
I was referring to it.
The question, I got the question is, I got a form in mail.
Yep.
About homestead exemption, and I thought, does this mean that I'm not going to be eligible again, or what?
No, we are required, so everybody got that last week. We are required to send out a mailer by the state of Ohio once a year to everybody that's on homestead. It's about just under 18,000 households. So when you got that, all that is for you to review what was listed on there. If nothing has changed, throw it away. You don't need to do anything. It's only if something that was listed there has changed in your status. And we've had a few people call in and say, oh, my income last year was, $50,000 because of this, this, and this. And it's like, well, you won't qualify for this next year. Now, if your income then goes back under the subsequent year, you can get re-enrolled, right? So, but the state of Ohio requires us to send out a mailer for everybody on homestead. It's really the honor system, because we don't know, to say to people, these are the circumstances under which you maintain your status. Has anything changed? And if nothing has changed, as it says on that postcard, just throw it away. You don't need to do anything.
So what year's grandfather should be?
You had to be on the program before 2010.
Yes.
So if you were
No, you're grandfathered in. You're okay. Right, you're okay.
And your question?
In counting your income, deferred compensation, if you're a county employee, is that in or out of the 26,000
The
or whatever?
Ohio tax return, the adjusted gross income, will give you the total figure. So if that's taxable, which we don't know, if it's taxable, it'll be on the last year's Ohio state tax return. So that's the number you need to look at.
Yep, so whatever you file, right, for last year.
One big question we always get is if your house is in a trust, if you've taken it out of your name and it's in a trust, you still may qualify for homestead. You need to contact the auditor's office and they'll walk you through the paperwork, but that doesn't eliminate you from qualifying for
Where
this.
is the website? Can you go on the website and do this?
Well, well, you really need to come in person or mail it in. Yeah, we don't yet have homestead forms online. We're working on that, but we don't have permission yet from the state to do it online.
Okay,
But it's actually something I'm working on.
Okay, that might take a while, but that's
But-
okay.
but-
You have a form.
I brought a few with me.
Yeah, because I was 65 or whatever.
Does anyone still need a budget, monthly budget? Do you need a?
The big thing is if at any point you have any questions on your homestead exemption, and we'll have somewhere these slides got a little jumbled, we'll have my office information up here that you can take down. I have a person, her name is Patty, and she is dedicated to working on the homestead program. So you can call my office, ask for Patty, and she can walk you through anything and everything. She's been with the auditor's office since the year I was born. I'm not kidding. She is the longest serving county employee, and she knows every bit of ins and outs on homestead. So, again, don't worry about today, but if you have a question down the road, you can always call my office and ask for Patty, and she can walk you through any changes that you may have. If your spouse passes away in the future or you have income changes, anything, we can walk you through that. That's what we're here for.
Let's go to the next screen to show them the numbers. So we have, go ahead. What's your question?
Just one quick thing for Chris. This thing you mailed out,
Yeah.
item 3, refers to, well, the one you just had up there is really better. Item 3 refers to something on line 11, but it did not say Schedule A.
I can't hear what.
You refer to line 11 on this form. It does not say Schedule A, as your slide did, which
It's the adjusted
Go
gross
back.
income for the state of Ohio.
So you know.
No, go back to the one that had this on it. Okay. There it says line 11, Schedule A.
So just so you
Yeah,
know,
on this format, mail out, it did not say Schedule A, which caused some confusion.
yes, and I know that. And you know what the issue there is? That language is the directed language from the state of Ohio. I'm not allowed to change it. So it's been pointed out to the Department of Taxation that they need to tweak their language a little, but I have to follow the exact, I'm allowed to put it in the postcard form versus on a piece of paper, but I can't change the language. They don't allow me to do that. They say, no, that's our adopted language, we can't change it. And I get it, they don't want 88 county auditors putting in all their own language all over the place. So they've
Thank you.
standardized that and required us to use it.
All right, so we're going to go into the actual savings. I think it was the one before that. Oh,
Before
go
you do
ahead.
that,
Okay.
there is all my contact information for our office, if any way anyone wants to jot any of those numbers down.
Okay, so we're going to look at the actual savings for the homestead exemption. I think it's,
Let them write the
Oh.
writing.
oh, okay. Sure, okay, okay.
When I see pens drop, then I'll be like the professor, then I'll move along. Still see a couple pens.
And Mike, the property taxes, does the county get any of that money from the property tax?
Yeah, part of it goes to the county, and it's,
So you had a bigger year this year.
yes. Yeah, we,
You wanted to have a sales tax, the county.
sales tax has nothing to do with the property
No, I know
taxes,
that.
but,
But I'm saying, if they're making more money there in the property tax, yet they still wanted to raise the sales tax, I was just wondering,
yeah, we took in $7 million more than last year on the property taxes. And I'm sure that will help the county. So that
And why, were there more buildings? I mean,
No, the biggest thing was we had a lot of different enhancements and communication with taxpayers. There were a lot of times when somebody refinances their house, or they pay off their mortgage, they don't update the address for the bill to be mailed to. We worked really hard going to all the senior centers and talking about automatic payments. So we saw a great reduction in people coming in to make their payments, and a lot more people were paying online, a lot more people were paying early, they were signing up for automatic payments, so that's what made the difference. Just, I think it was
Well,
greater
I
communication.
think
That just lost money then?
No. To your question, that increase is in large part to due to new levies and new construction. So there is some of that in that number, along with Mike's efforts to improve collection rates. But yeah, it's a mixed bag. Yeah, but no, new construction is captured, as well as, if there weren't really much in the way of levies last
only
year,
one.
but there, any new levy money would also be in that. You're right.
What about the fire station one? Is that an increase? Concord?
But it wasn't last year, wasn't it the year before? I think it was the year before's taxation.
That's part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it, yeah. And then that money is taken from his office and then handed to me, and then I distribute it out to all the jurisdictions.
Has the sales tax that we put into Lake County, has that helped to possibly reduce our property taxes?
No, most of your property taxes are driven by different taxing authorities. So, for example, anywhere from 50 to 60% of your tax bill is going to the schools, and they don't realize any sales tax money. Now, I will say sales tax is the single largest revenue source for the county. It is the largest source of revenue for the county. But if you look at your tax bill, the county probably represents 15 to 18% of your overall property tax bill. The rest is, things like library, bond fund, schools. The township, Concord gets about 17 to 18% of your property tax bill. And that's amongst all of its levies. So whether it's road, administrative, fire, safety, Concord's is about 18% of your total tax bill.
So the school levies that we pass, those go directly to the school, and then we also not only give them that, but we give them more money out of our regular taxes?
Well, the state of Ohio distributes money from our regular taxes back to the school districts based on their extremely complex formula on who gets what. Yeah.
All right, so we do have a slide in here showing what the homestead exemption actually does for a resident in Concord. I don't know if we could go back to that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Jumping ahead.
There it is. I don't know if you could read it. I can't read it.
Can't read it.
But it's anywhere from $450 to $700 a year is the actual benefit of the homestead exemption. There are quite a few bills at the State House to change the homestead exemption, to actually increase it. There is one sponsored by Representative Dan Troy, which he is trying to index it to inflation. And then there is another one where they are trying to increase it from the first $25,000 being exempt from taxes to $40,000. So that would probably, add, if it's a $500 homestead exemption, that may take it closer up to $1,000. So it would be a big improvement. If anybody is interested in that, they should go online to the State House, and Representative Dan Troy is the one who has proposed that, so they should email him. And if you're in favor of it, then show your support that way by emailing him.
Yeah, it does. We always advocate and ask folks to advocate for this legislation because it's so important. I know, I don't know if the Treasurers Association has taken a position, but the Auditors Association has taken a position to support these efforts to increase the income amount and the amount deducted off of the taxes on the homestead and to index it to inflation. So much so, our state legislative committee, we are actually considering drafting our own language to have dropped another version of Representative Troy's bill because we feel so strongly about it. So I always like to encourage everyone to email your state reps. It doesn't have to be your state rep. You know, we have 2 state reps, Troy and Callender. Troy's proposing this. You know, email Callender, email other state reps. It takes 10 minutes. You can go on right on the Ohio House website and let them know, hey, I support House Bill 57. You know, guys got to pass this. You've been talking about it for years. I will say, the House Bill 1 that was just dropped and had its first testimony hearing yesterday is a very large bill being pushed by the Speaker Stevens and some others to try to decouple this sort of unholy marriage in Ohio of income taxes and property taxes. And as part of that, one of the things they're looking to do is create a mechanism where your property taxes can't go up more than 10% in any single year, regardless of what's going on in your taxing district. So it's a very complex formula, and this bill is going to take a lot of time to work through. I would encourage you going on to the House's website. You can look at legislation and looking at how that may affect you. It's going to affect people differently, different communities differently. It's going to affect places, townships like Concord, much more so than cities, because cities are able to raise revenue through income tax and townships can't. So some of the fear for some of us is that townships will be forced to do more levies as they chase inflation, as things are capped on property taxes. So it's just getting started, and it's going to be a process that's going to be worked through over the next year, year and a half. But I encourage you to follow that and to weigh in on your opinion with your legislators as it's moving along.
If we're done with our working years,
I'm sorry, what?
if we're done with our working years, and through the time we were working, rates of the cost of our taxes kept going up. Once we stop working and we no longer have that income, are we allowed to have a reduction in our taxes because we don't have that income to pay what was?
Well, that's the whole purpose of the homestead exemption, of course. The whole purpose of that is to give you a reduction annually on your property taxes because you're a senior citizen. Or you can be disabled. So we will get to that in a moment. It's not homestead, there are deductions not just for being 65 and over. So, I mean, and there's always legislation being talked about in that way. I will tell you, politicians will come to you as senior citizens and say, I'm proposing no one over 65 ever pays taxes. Well, that sounds great. All right, okay, but see your reaction. But here's what they don't tell you. If you have levies that are paying for the services and you remove 35% of the population from paying them, who pays them? Now who pays them is the young people trying to buy their first home. Their taxes are going to double because yours just went away. So now they can't afford to buy their new home. It becomes a very unfair and unequitable process. So just always be very careful of politicians selling snake oil about, I'm going to do this for you and I'm going to do that for you, because more times than not, they're just going to create bigger and bigger problems in their effort to try to convince you of some miracle solution. Unfortunately, taxes are a part of all of our lives, and that's why we support things like indexing it to inflation. We would like to see the Auditors Association, that income number I gave you of 36.1, we'd like to see that go to 75,000 to 90,000. We'd like to see a dramatic increase in that number and then increase it and then index it to inflation, because it is way too low that people have with their pensions and their investments. $36,100 in a year is just far too low. It kicks too many people off the program. So I'll get off my soapbox so Mike can continue with the program.
Thank you. Yeah, the two bills that were introduced, House Bill 57 and House Bill 60, are the two that are, if you're going to go and you're going to email your state rep or your senator, Jerry Serino, those would be the bills to mention regarding homestead. If you're in favor of it, send out as many emails as you can to show your support for that. Now, the next program, how many individuals in here are veterans? Okay, how many are surviving spouses of a veteran? Okay, this is where Chris and I have really found where we're able to help people during these presentations, and that is there's a program for veterans which is double the tax reduction of the homestead exemption. So if a veteran is 100% disabled, then they would qualify for a $50,000 tax reduction in their property taxes. And that isn't $400 to $700 a year, that's double that. So the caveat to this is, and this is where we found people that we could help at each presentation, if you're a surviving spouse of a veteran that was 100% disabled and you have not remarried, you qualify for their exemption. So that is something, if you think you may qualify for that, or if you know of anybody who may qualify for that, have them call the auditor's office and they could walk you through the paperwork needed to get that tax reduction. It's a huge tax reduction if you qualify for it and you haven't received it so far.
As long as he was disabled, it didn't have to be.
100% disabled, 100% disabled, right, and the spouse has not remarried.
So if somebody was under a social security disability, then.
Be a veteran.
Then their surviving spouse would qualify?
Yeah, the way it's worded is 100% disabled veteran.
Is
And then-
that from the war?
I think there would be something from the VA that would state what percentage they're disabled, because a lot of times you'll see it where they're 50% disabled, 70% disabled.
So it has to be because of the.
Well, whatever the VA views. The VA if the VA would issue a letter stating that they're disabled and they would give a percentage.
It doesn't have to be from war, conflict, or otherwise. If you were a veteran of any kind that's 100% disabled. Now, unfortunately, that's the rule. We've had folks come in and say, I've got this letter, I'm 80% disabled. They don't qualify. Unless the VA declares them 100% disabled. How they're disabled is irrelevant. Are they a veteran and are they 100% disabled? If they are determined as such, then they are eligible for this. And we have found probably the last year and a half or so, maybe a dozen people that might qualify for that. We've been able to get them signed up, so.
Yeah, but the big thing that really isn't talked about out there is if the veteran passed away, they were 100% disabled, and the spouse has not remarried. They take that benefit.
The
So
spouse
that is-
doesn't have to be disabled.
Right.
Just the veteran. So if you had a 100% disabled veteran husband and they passed, the widow would then be entitled to be on the program, even if she's not.
Right. So it's something, if you know anybody who may qualify for it, have them call the auditor's office. And then the next slide, I believe, is how to contact Chris's office with, which we did. And then we're going to go over the water and sewer. I'm not sure how many people are on a septic system, how many people are on the sewer and the county water, but there is a program. I don't know if we have flyers for it.
I don't know how many are on Concord. Most for water, most are on Aqua or Paynesville. Is anybody on county water? Not Paynesville or Aqua? Yeah, I don't think Concord, Mike, is.
Okay, so we're going to move on. If you know anybody who is on the county water or sewer, they could get a 25% discount. If they qualify for homestead, they're going to qualify for the reduction in the county water and sewer bills. So it's a nice little reduction.
We're not clear about it. We all live in Lake County, we have Lake County water.
Well, the issue is what the county owns. So there's the, for like water, there's Aqua, the city of Painesville. The commissioners passed this reduction just for the ones that they own. They can't obviously make Aqua do it. But the law allows them to do this for the system that they own, although I don't think anyone in Concord is on the county system. We're on Painesville and Aqua for water, I know I am. So.
We have the application, so if you may happen to be on it or you know anybody, then we have them available. So we're going to go to the next slide. So I'm going to start to go over some programs that may be beneficial. The first one is the Save the Dream program. I mentioned it before. If you know of anybody who is behind on their property taxes and they could relate it any way to COVID, if it was having a positive COVID test, medical bills, loss of job, loss of a part-time job, extra expenses, there is money available through this fund to bring the taxes current. This is administered by Lifeline. But we've had many families approved for this. We had a family in, I believe it might have been Painesville last year, where they were both in their late 70s and they were both working full-time in 2020. And one lost their job. It was just eliminated when COVID started. And the other was a traveling nurse, and her hours were greatly reduced. And they fell behind on their taxes and they could not catch up. So they came to my office and we were able to get them, I think it was a $10,000 grant to bring their taxes current. And when I sat down with them and I looked at their budget, they could continue with all their bills. They could make their bills, they could keep that house, but they couldn't catch up. They were $10,000 behind and they were in their late 70s. So this was a blessing to them that they got approved. There are a lot of stories like that where people come in and they're behind on their taxes. It's somehow related to COVID, and they make enough money. They're working, but they cannot catch up with a huge delinquent tax bill. So if you know of anybody who's behind on their taxes, definitely have them check out this program to see if they can get a grant to bring those taxes current. And if anybody wants information on this, we'll pass it around. Okay, and there's a couple other programs I want to go over. There is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. There's 2 or 3 of these programs in Lake County where if you're a senior, or you don't even have to be a senior, if you qualify based on the income level for this program and you are moving to a new location in a new apartment in Lake County, one time per year you can get up to $1,500 for the security deposit and the first month's rent. So if you know of any family or friends that are going to be moving this year and into another apartment in Lake County, we have flyers we could hand out. This could be a $1,500 grant to help them relocate to a new apartment. And there's a couple programs that are the same way. I think Fair Housing has virtually the same program, which we have flyers on both of them if anybody's interested. One other program, it's not on here, but I just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention, and that is Lifeline's free tax preparation. I don't know if everybody's already done their taxes, but if anybody needs free tax preparation, Lifeline will do it. We have some flyers up here that we could pass around for you.
So that Lake County utilities for the sewer, it depends on line 3 of your state income tax that they're using for the number?
It would be the,
Exactly the same as
it's homestead, so I think it's the last year's adjusted gross income on your state taxes under $36,100. I thought it was line 11, but it could be.
Maybe line 11.
Line
Yeah.
11.
So whatever that says,
Schedule
if
A.
you're under the 36.1, then you're eligible for it.
Correct. So I'm going to go over a couple more programs, then we've got a little trivia contest, and we'll go over some more grant programs. But this is a program that Utter Galloway and I found last year. This is through the Planning Commission. So if you're a senior and you own your own home, and you have a big expense, you have a new roof you need to put on, you need to put in air conditioning, you need plumbing, you've got a big expense and you're not sure how to pay for it. There is a program through the Planning Commission where you could have a silent second, where you could have that roof replaced, you could have that plumbing done, or you could have a major component of your house fixed, and they will put a lien on the end of your on your house, and there's no payments until you sell that house. So if you sell that house in 5 years, 10 years, 12 years, it doesn't matter. But there's no payment, and you can get that house fixed so you could stay in that house, and that is through the Planning Commission. And if anybody has a situation like that where they need a repair of their house and they don't know how they're going to pay for it, this is a great option. Get the house fixed. It can be paid for when it's sold. And this is a great option offered through the Commissioner's Office, which is the Planning Commission. So if anybody needs information on this, we can hand these out too to anybody who's interested. Now, Chris and I last year, we had a resource fair, which we had at the administration building. And what we did is we invited in all the nonprofits and all the government agencies to talk about the different programs that they offer, the different grant programs, what they could do for seniors. We had everything in there from grants available for repairs, money for food, medical. We had 23 different agencies in there, and we have set up a resource fair at the administration building for April 21st. And it's going to have about 23 agencies, and it's going to be everybody from Lifeline to if you need legal information, whatever resource you need for help on whatever you're going through. It's probably going to be in this resource fair. The thing that we added to it this year is we partnered with Council on Aging and Lifeline and Lake Tran, and we're going to do a free food distribution in the parking lot on April 21st. So this is a flyer where you could call and register for the free food distribution. They'll have a box of food for anybody who's interested, and you could drive through the back of the administration building and they'll put it in your car and off you go. But it's something that we've been working on so we can just utilize all the different resources in the county. But it's a food distribution. It's going to be April 21st. From 10 to 12, but you do need to register through Council on Aging, and then you'll be able to come through. It's going to be at the administration building, 105 Main Street in Paynesville, and it's just going to be around the building, and they'll put it right in your car as you go through. But the resource fair will actually be inside, and that will be in the basement of the administration building in the large conference room by the recorder's office.
Building C. Building C is the building that has our offices on the first floor.
New building?
No, that's where the commissioners are.
Yeah, we're in the old building. Yeah, we're in the old
They're
one.
in A. We're all the way down in C, where the windows and roof need to be replaced.
Good hideout for you.
Sure, we can do trivia.
So we're going to ask some questions about Lake County to see who knows the history of the county. So I'll start off. I'm going to start off with an easy question, and you can either win a.
Question first. That's not the contest thing. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm on a septic system. If I wanted to tie in on Auburn Road, it's a major expense. Does it have to be paid right away, or is it broken down over 20 years, 30 years?
Where are you on Auburn?
Right across from Vista Springs.
We'd have to see where the sewer line is. It is a major expense. And as the sewer is being extended in this section of Auburn Road, I know the township is going to extend it past this building. And then this parcel next door is going to get developed and it's going to get sewer extended to it. We'd have to, you'd want to check with the township on where the sewer line is and where it ends, and to figure out that cost. Those tie-ins, the tie-in cost can be added to your tax, to your tax bill.
Okay.
But depending on your distance, you know, that may be $400,000 or something. So I don't want to, yeah, it's not a simple, you know, I know the township's extending the sewer from the property line, from one end of this property line to the other, and it's a couple $100,000 to move it for this property alone. So it's very expensive, but the tie-in fees and those things can be deferred out, but it's really the cost of getting it to you. Now, obviously, Vista Springs is on sewer,
Right.
so
And next to me is that doctor in the Sunset.
is that on sewer?
Assuming.
See, I think that's the first step. Find out where on the sewer map is. Call the township and find out exactly where the sewer line is and then they can determine with the county if it's right there next to your house, it may be so it may be a much smaller expense. I would start with the township and then they can check with the county to see what that tie-in would look like and what that would cost. And then, I mean, obviously that's the first step. You want to see what that would cost, you know, before you make any changes.
Talking about septic, we suddenly got a bill, never heard anything about it, that you have to pay $100 a year if you're gonna have a septic. And I've been here 50 years, never had anything like this. What happened and why were we not given a little bit more?
Yeah, I got the same bill.
Mine was 300 because I just put in a septic. It's higher if you just.
So will we get the bill next year, don't have to remember it?
Is it annual or every 3 years?
It's annual.
Is it annual? Okay.
The next one's 2027.
Yeah, I thought it was, I don't think it's annual. Well, so here's how that happened. A number of years ago, 8 to 10 years ago, the state legislature passed a bill that required the registration and monitoring of all septic systems by each county health department. And they had so much time to begin the implementation. What the county health department started doing was, rather than sending, because they had this window, what they decided to do was they started like on cycles. So they hit some people in some areas several years ago. They just got to Concord this year, is basically what you're finding out. And they're sort of working their way through the county and having people register, pay the fee, etc. Some counties are like Geauga are much more militant. I mean, they're coming out and testing your septic, and if they don't like it, they're forcing you to get a new one. Lake County's not doing that. They're supposed to do that mailer. The state is requiring them to get the fee and to register it and to maintain a database. So this all emanated from the legislature deciding that all of us on septics were now suddenly a great pollutant problem and that we needed to be monitored better.
If we have to pay again, we'll get another bill.
You'll get another bill, yeah.
That's the I just didn't want to.
Yeah, I honestly, I should have looked at mine a little closer. I don't think it's annual.
No, it's not.
It's not, okay.
I misread 5 years.
Is it 5? Okay, yeah, I thought it was a period of time. I thought it was 3, but if it's 5, yeah, so it's, I had the same gripe that you, I went, wah, right, you know? But here's what I will tell you. I also know that my septic system was built in 1968. And, you know, in other counties, they're making people like me spend $30,000, $40,000, and Lake County's not doing that. Because I have mine inspected and emptied, you know, on a regular cycle. The paperwork is filed with the county, and so it shows that my system is working fine, so.
I didn't realize it, but obviously they knew because it said that on that paper. cheaper,
Yeah.
but I have it less bulk.
So when you have it pumped, the service you use, Tim Frank or whoever you use, sends that paperwork into the health department to say, we emptied this tank on this date, or if you have any repairs or inspections done, they send a copy of that to the health department, and that's all part of this database now going forward. So.
Do you use Red-X?
Who? Oh, I do, yeah. Yeah, the little packet, and once a month, throw it down there, absolutely,
Just a quick question, what is the number for the homestead exemption? What's the phone number?
You can call just my main office number, 440-350-2532. I think it's on the back of that.
Chris?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, just ask for Patty.
Chris?
Patty's not in today, by the way. She's not in today. She took a day off. She was a little under the weather, so I insisted take tomorrow off. So,
One quick question. What are they developing over here, and how many are they developing?
What are we referring to?
You said that property over there is going to get developed.
Oh, the one just south of us?
Yeah. What,
This property's been for sale, and my understanding it's recently sold.
okay. What are they building on it? Is it commercial or is it?
It'll be commercial. Yeah, this whole area is.
So no housing?
No housing,
You don't have to
no.
worry about another
No.
700 people driving? Okay, good.
No. This whole area is zoned commercial, so.
Okay, cool.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I live here on Auburn Road also.
Me too, but the other end.
If I sell my home, that I put it on the sale, and I've had my septic system tested and passed and everything else, am I required to put a new system in during my process of selling my home?
Oh, the paperwork that you've had it done?
Right, so now since it passed,
My guess is under the due diligence, the buyers would want to see that paperwork that shows that you had it pumped and inspected and everything.
okay, so
Yeah, you should be fine. Yeah, yeah.
okay, that's all I wanted to know.
I have a question. I paid the county for water line out by my property. I own the corner lot, so I got stuck paying for going down 608 Grove Road. Numbers in the meantime, I broke down the water line that I paid for. Who do I go to try and recover my money?
I would, that is a good question. See me afterwards. Let me get your info. I'm going to pass it over to Andy Rose, our township administrator. I'm trying to think it should be whether you would start with county planning or whether you would go to county utilities or even maybe the engineer. I'm not sure, so I need to do a little homework.
They don't know.
Who doesn't know?
The county engineer.
Yeah.
Because Lake County put the water line in.
Yeah.
And Painesville City is the one that builds it, so they switch it back and forth.
So the money may, and again, that's why I'm going to take a little homework, the money may need to come from, reimbursement to you may come from, if you paid for it, it may come from the city of Painesville.
They won't pay it.
But you paid for the line yourself? Well, I'd have to see how that arrangement worked. I mean, I know, like I have a friend who put the water line in on North Orchard, little cul-de-sac here off of Girdled, because he was the first house at the end of the cul-de-sac, and then everybody that bought land else in there had to reimburse him for the cost. But I don't know if you pay for it to get yourself water, how that works legally. So I think, I think the first call should be to the Administrator Rose and see what he can dig up in terms of understanding who did what and what the liabilities are. That would be my suggestion. All right, and that was trivia.
Yeah, so we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna see what you guys know about the county, and we're gonna have some trivia questions. And Chris, here's yours. And then afterwards, we have Patrick Dolzer from Western Southern. He's gonna see if there's any questions that he can answer regarding his expertise. So, okay, the first question, you don't have to raise your hand, just shout out the answer if you know it, and you'll either win a calendar or a treasurer's book, which is not worth anything, but it's really cool, treasurer's book. So the first one's really easy. What is the name of our president that has a historical site in Mentor? I think you were the first one. Do you want a calendar or do you want a treasurer's book? Please.
Treasurer or something.
I'll take the treasurer.
All right, see, I knew this crowd, we've done some of these where people struggle, but I knew my Concord crowd was not going to struggle at all by this. All right, the Kirtland Temple was established in 1833 by which group of settlers?
Who got it?
It was kind of her again, but
It's got to be somebody else.
you're going to have them raise their hand. I can visually see a hand. I can't see the voice. All right. Okay.
I'll ask the next one.
Oh, you got the next one? Okay.
Okay, if you know it, raise your hand and,
I'll watch.
okay, the Boulevard of 500 Flags is in what?
All the way in the back.
All right, good job. Do you want the treasurer's book or calendar?
What's the treasurer going to give us?
All right, yeah. It's worth 0 and it'll still be worth 0. I'm gonna give a hard one because you guys are too smart. Name the, and it's in Lake County, and I'll give you the 4 options. Name the only city in Ohio that has been a part of 6 counties. Is it Perry, Concord, Willowick, or Willoughby? You were first. Wrong. The trick was, I said city. Go ahead, you got it wrong. Who's next? That's right, Willoughby. She already won.
I'll switch with the calendar.
There you go. Boy, those treasurer bucks are a little. Well, I'll do it right. I'll do one more difficult one, since you guys are good at this. And it'll be a multiple choice. In 1830 to 1840, and this is referring to Lake County, settlers came from York State to purchase land for A, $5 to $8 per acre, B, $7 to $10 per acre, C, $3 to $5 per acre, or D, $12 to $15 per acre. Settlers in the 1830s buying land in Lake County. What were they coming here to pay for it? Wrong. Wrong. B. It's B. $7 to $10 an acre. This young lady right here, she got it in the blue coat.
I got the next question. Do you want a...
So yes, your land values have gone up since 1833.
Okay. All right, so the next question is, and I find this one really interesting. A couple times when the Olympics are in the United States, they run the torch from New York City to Los Angeles across the United States. The last time that happened, it went through Lake County, and it was the Winter Olympics. Everyone knows the Olympics are in an even number of years. What year did they run that torch through Lake County the last time?
1976.
No, much more recent.
I got this wrong.
2012.
No, a little bit, and it's a little bit more than that.
Rachel's got a guess.
Was it 2002?
Yes, you got it. All right.
You win! Yay! The first time he rolled that out, I said, well, 1980, the miracle in Lake Placid, right? It makes sense. Lake County would be going up to New York. He's like, no. I'm like, oh.
You got any more?
All right, I'll throw one last one out there. Then we can get on to our financial advice. Ohio had the most interurban lines of any state with 2,798 miles of track. And if you all know back in the 1800s and early 1900s what those were, An interurban depot was located in what township? So this would allowed you to basically take like the trolley down to Cleveland from out here. What township in Lake County would it have been located in? Wrong. Hey, give me your answer from before. You win!
So we have Patrick Wilson.
Harry.
Perry Township.
The interurban for Lake County is out in Perry Township.
So, you want me to hand those out?
Bring more to drop them off later. Okay, I'm also a Concord resident of 5 years now. Yay, love it here, retiring here. So some tips financially, and a lot of these are not just for retirees, they're really for all of us. First of all, budget closely. We passed out budgets earlier, and track your expenses. Never stop learning about finances. The last one, a lot of people are leery of automating your finances. Here's why this can become very important. If something happens to any of us, an accident, a car accident or something, and someone's now handling our bills, the ones that aren't automated, they got to be able to catch these things in the mail. They also got to be able to have the power to write a check to pay them. The automated ones will get covered. They'll get taken care of. The worst case I ever had was a client called me. His wife had passed from cancer. She had a life insurance he was expecting $150,000 on from this company in Virginia, and they said it lapsed. And she was paying this, and he was going through the process of his wife sick with cancer. He wasn't paying attention to the bills, and it lapsed. And I'm on the phone with him on the 800 number calling and pleading for some kind of extension, which I knew they weren't going to give, and they didn't. I've been automating my finances for years. I really haven't had any troubles, but what I would say, if you do that, be sure to check your bank account daily. I have an app on my phone, and I'm always looking for, not just that they went through, but I'm looking for fraudulent things, making sure nobody hacked my account. It's always a good idea to do that. Okay, rein in the generosity. You know when you're on the plane, they talk about the oxygen masks. Put yours on before the kid. Take care of yourself financially first before you give it all away to the kids and to the charities. And I talk about this with the younger families as well. They want a college fund, and they're not putting much into their retirement accounts. And I tell them, you could have a very well-educated kid, and you might end up living in their basement because you haven't saved anything for retirement. I'm sure the kids would rather that you have a good, sound retirement. So take care of yourself first. Credit, the same thing I said about the bank. Keep a close eye on your credit just to make sure nothing fraudulent's happening on there. Also, you may not need credit now, but we don't know when that emergency is going to happen that we might need it. Okay, it could be a major house expense, could be something medical. So make sure you're just keeping a good credit score. Oh boy.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Is it a good thing at our age to freeze our credits?
To freeze your credit?
Yeah, I do that online. You know, just so kind of like for fraudulent, you know, people in that.
I don't know, in all honesty.
I was just trying to protect my family or that.
There's definitely some advantages to it, but making sure you still have credit available if you need it is important. Okay, so how much is too much cash to have at home or in the bank? I had a client call me last year. This is not my typical client. I work in middle income America. This is where we live. But she said, Pat, I think I have too much in the bank. Well, how much do you have in the bank? $250,000. And yes, that's too much in the bank. I knew what her expenses were. It turned out she had some rentals and just sold a house, and that's why she had so much. Here's the problem, is we have very high inflation right now, and our money that is at home and in the bank generally is earning very little for us and not keeping up with inflation. We need our money to buy the same amount of groceries now as it does in 10 years. So now the good thing is, because of the high inflation and the Fed keeps raising rates, the banks are actually offering some interest now for the first time in over 10 years. You can get CDs at 3-4%. So if you have a lot sitting just in a savings account earning 0.1, 0.01 usually, go talk to your bank and see if they can do better for you there.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I have one, she's not, what the government right now is a key bond. I bonds, because the guy last year was paying 10%, now it's paying 6%. You don't pay interest to that on it until you take it out. You gotta watch it because, you know, it can drop down, but temporarily it would be a good, and you can only put up to 10,000 per year in them. But for somebody that has some extra cash, that would be a good place to.
Yes, what she said. So by law, because of my investment licenses, I can't give specific advice on investments, or I'd have to be passing out a bunch of dead trees of prospectuses to all of you. But yes, I-bonds are a good thing to look into, but like she said, stay on top of them and watch what the interest rates are doing.
All online.
It's all online. Power of attorney. Again, this is not a retiree thing. This is an all of us thing. When my wife and I had our first daughter, she's 13 now, that's when we got our wills and set up our power of attorney. And the attorney scolded us that you really should have had these done already, which we weren't aware of. And I wasn't in this business yet. But learned, because if one of us got in a car accident or something, the other one needed to be able to financially represent the other to make medical decisions. A power of attorney will do this. If you have multiple kids and you don't have one of them named as the power of attorney and you end up going to the hospital, it could cause a huge fight. What did mom really want? What did dad really want? Set up the living will, set up the power of attorney, and you say now what you want. So they're going through enough stress already with mom or dad in the hospital. These are very tough decisions for anyone to make. Don't put it all on them. Sit with an attorney and they're going to guide you through how to do this. So there's a financial power of attorney, there's a healthcare power of attorney. All of us should have them.
I got a question about that. What if you don't have anyone? What if you can't find anyone?
So that's a very good question. Now, one of the attorneys I work with, he did mention he is an executor and a power of attorney for a couple of his clients. So you can call a legal office and ask them if they can recommend someone or they can do it, is what I would suggest to do.
Then if you have, let's say, an attorney be your power of attorney, do you have to pay them more than what you pay a relative or friend?
I don't think so. The people don't get paid to be a power of attorney. There's a volunteer army.
Okay, so it's always volunteer, no matter whether it was an attorney or not?
Correct. My great aunt, she's in Cleveland, and my brother and I were doing some work on her house. He's a contractor. He's excellent. And she's like, okay, guys, I redid some of the will and stuff. And she looked at my brother, Chris, when I die, you're going to get the house. Patrick, you're going to be my executor. And I'm like, you get a house, I get a bunch of work to do. So, but she knows what I do for a living. It made sense. I get it. So happy to do it. To have, I'm assuming most people in here are on Medicare at this point. You want to look at your supplemental insurances, whether it's an Advantage plan or Medicare supplements. Make sure you're properly protected. If you're on prescriptions, you want a Part D plan. That's all I'm going to say, because that's a 45-minute seminar in itself, probably actually longer. Okay, I talked about a will. A will is your wishes. What a will do will most likely be followed. I want the house to go to so-and-so. I want my car to go in so-and-so. That's the good things about it. The bad things are a will does go through probate, and it can be contested, meaning that grandson decides, no, I should get some of that, even though you have kids still alive, and it was clearly defined to go to all of them. Grandson can contest it. Doesn't mean they're going to get anything? No. But it does mean they can slow down the whole process in probate court, and it'll take longer for your assets to get who you want to get it to. Doesn't mean a will is a bad thing. Some people will look into trusts. Okay, I already mentioned these here. Did we pass out the booklet? Did I have? Okay, so the booklet that was passed out, that isn't, some of you got it, I didn't know there'd be so many people here. It's not a legal document, it's a packet that says, here's where my bank accounts are, here's where my safety deposit box is, here's my attorney, here's my CPA. It lists out everything financially in one little packet. So I can bring more and drop them off here at the center. I drive past here every day, dropping my kids off at the bus. This is the first time I've been in here. It's really nice. So I'll bring some and we'll have them here. I'll get them here next week probably. But it's a good thing to have to list out, and whoever your executor is, neighbor, kid, give them a copy of it so they know where everything is. My first year, I sat with the widow whose husband just died. He handled all the finances, never told her anything, and I was there going through 2 large file cabinet drawers. Call this insurance company, call this bank. Is this money still here? Is this there? It was, please, just get it organized and tell your executors where the stuff is, the people you trust. Now, it did mention here, did you use an attorney for the wills or power of attorneys? You can do it yourself. I do recommend using an attorney because if it's done wrong, they're worthless. One document needs a witness. One document needs a notary. It needs to be filed. You just screw up that little bit and they're trash. They're Sunday clippers and just recycle them. They're not going to do anything for you. That's why I think it's worth a few $100, $1,000 to pay an attorney to make sure it's done right. A lot of these slides are mentioning, safety deposit box, where your Medicare cards. That's kind of what a document like that can do. You can just take a legal pad and write all of this down. My aunt, who I'm the executor for, I literally went to her house and said, Aunt Diane, where's the life insurance? You have a will, where's that? And I'm writing down on my own legal pad. Even, Pat, here are the pictures I want to display on the picture board at the funeral or in the shoebox. I have them here in the closet. She'd been through burying my grandma and grandpa, so she knows what it is to go through a funeral and what I'd have to do. And she was great for organizing it for me. So it's good to document. Cost of long-term care insurance. This, no matter how much we can plan for retirement, if you haven't planned for this, this is the black hole that can suck everything up, unfortunately. We don't know which of us it's going to happen to. There are things you can do to protect it. You can get long-term care insurance. I'll tell you right now, it's not cheap and it's not easy to get approved for. You can create a trust. And a lot of people, when they start looking at trusts, it's because they're starting to do long-term care insurance planning. Will every trust protect your money from a nursing home? No. Only the irrevocable ones will. But an irrevocable doesn't apply to everybody. The more assets you have, the more it makes sense. And I would say another good conversation to have with an attorney is about long-term care insurance and do you need planning? You can self-pay and pay for it yourself. Not fun, but some people do that. I actually lived in Lakewood for 18 years before I moved back to Lake County. I grew up in Willowick, and there was a retirement village in Westlake, I remember, that if you signed your home over to them, you can live in that retirement village forever. And it was one of these stepped-up homes where it's independent living, then assisted living, then nursing home. And you didn't have to pay any more bills if you signed your home over, which for a lot of people, that is really hard to let go of, and I get it. I love my house, I'm doing remodeling all the time, I cherish it. But at the same time, when you look at these costs of $105,000 a year on average, some people are like, take my home, please, because I need to get taken care of. Not saying that makes sense. Attorneys are excellent people to talk to about these conversations, what makes sense for you. Every situation is different. There's no clear answer. These are some of my toughest meetings are when it gets down to the nursing home planning. Okay, here's where a trust is different from a will. Will goes through probate, a trust bypasses probate. That grandson comes forward and says, I want the car, too bad. They had a trust, cannot be contested in probate. It's going to go to the daughter or whoever it was meant to go to. The trust can also define your wishes after death. I have X amount of money, and I want the kids to get so much a year because I'm worried about them blowing through all of it really fast. So you can do that with a trust and give them X amount a year. So it's really versatile. There's many different kinds. I have clients that are special needs, and get Social Security from that, but they have money they could put in a special needs trust and still keep getting their Social Security aid. Auto pay again. We passed out the budgets. The thing I'll say about the budget is where mistakes are made on budgets. It's easy to tell what I'm paying: electrical, water, mortgage, insurance. Those things every year usually don't change much. Car repairs change a lot. Gifts and vacations. These are where people undervalue it. Because gifts aren't just holidays and birthdays. There's the things you don't plan for: the wedding, the retirement party, the anniversary, and some are at a location. The marriage in Hawaii kind of thing. I hope I'm never invited to one. So, at least by someone that I'm really close to that I feel like I have to go. So, but vacations, when you get out there, we did Disney last year with our kids, which we don't do that every year. Disney's like, someone described it to me as a giant, cute ATM machine, and they were right. And I think we spent $1,000 more just on food for the four of us than I had budgeted for, because Disney changed the meal plan. So plan a little extra for gifts, vacations, and car when you do your budget, just to be safe. There were two slides that didn't make it in here that are recent changes in the government, and they're called the Secure Act. We had Secure Act passed in 2019, and Secure Act 2.0 just passed last month. These affect you. Not all in bad ways. When the 2019 Secure Act came out, some of the changes were good. The RMD, the required minimum distribution, the money you have to take at age 70 and a half from retirement accounts. This is pre-tax money that would be in 401ks or IRAs. They said now you can wait till age 72 to take that money. With what passed in January, if you didn't turn 72 before January 1st of this year, now it moves to 73. And for anyone 64 years old or younger, it's going to be 75 for us. The other nice thing was, it used to be you could only deposit in an IRA until you were 70 and a half years old. Well, we have more people staying in the workforce later because inflation, yay, we're in it right now. But now the rule has changed. As long as you're working, doesn't matter what your age is, you can deposit into an IRA, which is great. Now, there are some bad changes, and there's one major one, and it's how our family inherits retirement money that would have an RMD, 401ks, IRAs. It used to be if your kids inherited your IRA money and you had an RMD, they would have to start taking an RMD and they could spread it the rest of their lives. The RMD amount is 3-4% a year. It's not much. With the Secure Act in 2019, if anyone a generation down or more, kids, grandkids, if they inherit IRA money from you or 401k money, they have to pay all the taxes in 10 years. So now instead of 3-4% a year, we're looking at 10% plus with growth. And what does that do? That moves them up from 12% tax bracket to 22% they're paying taxes on now. This was a huge money grab by the government, and they're targeting inheritance. They like to do that. So there is some planning that can be done about this. I just had a client in Madison pass away, and she left her IRA money to her son and her 2 grandkids who are adults. And they called me and they said, Pat, we heard about this 10-year rule. What can we do? Nothing. There's literally nothing we could do now that she's passed. The only people that can do the planning are the people that own that money while they're living. So you can convert it to a Roth IRA. You just pay some taxes on it and become Roth, and Roth is tax-free and passes tax-free as well. We have clients that take that RMD if they don't need it. My mom uses hers every year to pay the property taxes in one shot, which is great. But for those that say, well, I just put mine in the bank because I don't know what to do with it, maybe buy life insurance with it, and it'll help counteract the extra taxes they're going to pay on the IRA money. If you have charities you give to, your church, any local charities, I would say start giving them the IRA money, because your family is going to pay taxes on it, the charity won't. Now, when the Tax Reform Act passed in 2017, it used to be we could itemize our church donations. We can't anymore. However, you can give your IRA money directly to that church or charity, and you can deduct it now, which is really cool. So if I was given $50 a week in the giving basket, which is $2,600 a year, and I was just writing a check out of my checking account, and getting no deduction, instead of doing that, write it from the IRA directly to the church, I have a $2,600 deduction right now. They don't pay taxes on it, and they're not missing anything. They're getting the same money as before.
But you have to itemize.
You can itemize with that. Well, you can deduct that. How it works in the taxes, I'm not a CPA, I'm not sure exactly how it's filed, but it is a deduction. That I do know. Yes?
I thought with the, what is that, R&D, if you wanted to do that, the money would have to go directly, that amount that you want to donate. It can't bypass you.
Correct.
It will go directly.
It has to go directly, so you have to call your investment company or whoever's holding the money and say, make this out to X church or whoever it is, or charity, and now it's a deduction. It can't touch your hands. It's got to go straight to them.
403Bs, is that available?
403B is included in that as well, yes. Anything pre-tax. 403Bs, IRAs, 401Ks. That is all I have for today. Any other questions? Yes?
You have IRA, and you have it for, like, your grandkids, and they're not adults.
Can you have an IRA for your grandkids who are not adults?
Yeah.
So,
They might-
yes and no. So if they're working, if you need,
Like 8 and 13.
up until the Secure Act 2.0, which just passed, you had to work to be able to contribute to an IRA. However, there's one nuance that just happened in it, which is really cool, and it's part of the 529 plan. And I don't know if any of you are giving to your grandkids 529 plans for schooling. The 529 plan started about 20 years ago, and it was a pocket knife. It's turned into a Swiss Army knife. It can do so many things now. It's really cool. But one change they made just last month was, if you have a 529 plan and you don't use it for school, the kid doesn't go to college, they get a scholarship or something, you can now put that money, I think it's up to $15,000, into a Roth IRA in the child's name. And they don't need a job. It's the only time you can put money into a Roth without having a job. So that you can do. I have clients that will open retail accounts for their grandkids, which is an investment account that's just liquid. It's like a savings account in the bank, just in investments. So it's growing for their retirement at a proper rate. And then when they start working, then you can open up an IRA for them, but they need earned income.
What exactly is it? It's a retail?
A retail account, some of you have them at the bank, they're just called TODs, or transferred on deaths. It's just how it's just an after-tax account, just like your savings account, but in investments, is the simplest way I could say it. Yes?
So if you have a grandchild that received a total benefit to go to college, and you already had money put away for that college fund, okay? Where would you advise to put it instead of
There's two things you can do now with,
just turning it over to the parents and seeing, oh God, what am I?
yeah, well, three things. The kid, her question was, you had money for the grandkid and they got a scholarship, and they don't need the 529 plan anymore.
Right.
Now, with the changes in the 529 plan, well, forever you could move it to another child in the family, into their name.
Yeah.
We don't have one. Good. Next thing, you can, the value of the scholarship, the government will now let you take that out of the 529 plan with no penalties. Before, you'd have a 10% penalty if you take it out if it's not used for schooling. This is part of the Swiss Army knife. Now they say you can take it out. They got a $50,000 in scholarships. You could take $50,000 out of the 529 plan. If you get audited, they're going to ask you to prove it, but shouldn't be a problem. And then newly, you can convert and move some of it into a Roth IRA. I think the limit's $15,000. I might be wrong about that.
I want to know what the limit was.
Yeah.
Because I know there's been money, my grandson, he can go to college, he went to tech school, but there is money there. So he can put that into his dad can put that into a Roth.
Yes, you can put it into,
50,000?
I think 15.
15,000.
I think 15, yeah. I could be very wrong about that number, but I know there's a limit. Yes, ma'am.
Her question where, put the IRAs into your grandson or grandchild, who's going to pay the taxes on that and when?
If, it depends, I have a client whose got a family business, and his kids work there, and they're teenagers. If they're younger than 18, there has to be an adult that is the term's escaping me, that owns the plan for now, and the child is the beneficiary of it. The person that owns it is going to be paying the taxes on it. They will get the deduction on
So
it.
it's not going in the child's name?
It's in the child's name. They're the beneficiary of it. This term will come to me right when I walk out of the room.
Now, uniform gift to minors. Is that-
Well, that's an UGMA. That's a little different, but it can fall under the category of the UGMA. The UGMA we have now, which is actually better tax-wise in Ohio, which is nice.
So either the grandchild or the grandchild's parent is still going to pay taxes?
If it's a Roth, you're paying the taxes. If it's a traditional, the owner's getting the deduction. When the child is older and it goes in their name and they use it, and if it's a traditional, they're paying the taxes then. If it's a Roth, there's no taxes to pay at all.
So you depends on the Roth.
Roths are usually more popular for the grandkids. They don't need deductions, so at their age. Yeah, let's pay the government less if we can.
So,
Yep.
so we're gonna wrap up the meeting. Patrick will stay afterwards if there's questions. I just wanted to thank everybody on behalf of Chris. Oh, he's right over there. Galloway, if you got questions on the homestead, please call Auditor Galloway's office, and he will take care of you. If you have any questions on any of the grant programs that we went over, we have flyers in all of them, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. But thank you to everybody.